Welcome everybody to our final session of the morning, afternoon. What time is it? Day, I guess, because after this we head over for lunch and then all of the things to wrap up the conference. So, welcome. Thank you for joining us. We've got Laura coming up next, who is going to talk about what you can do with 100 days of mapping. So, please give her your full attention. Make sure your phones are on silent, you're settled into your seats, you're doing all that things. We're gonna give people a second because when they had a few minutes to kind of chill between sessions, and now they're like, oh man, my seat, it's time, I gotta go. So I will just like vamp for 30 more seconds while they get settled, and then we'll pass it over to you. You're going to talk about some really cool things. I'm excited about this topic and also just seeing the wonderful design work you've done. This is going to be a good session. So remember, if you have questions, you can put them into the venue list. You can also ask them out loud. If you can't get venue list to work and you are also shy, write them on a slip of paper and I'll come around and get it and read it out for you. That's fine too. However you want to do it. With that, let's give it up for Laura. Yeah.
uh, Hi everyone. Thanks for joining. Basically, today's session is a bit and quite much simpler from the last two sessions, which were very technical. But basically, it's just an experience share of something we did earlier this year with other community members. And some things about me. I'm Laura. I started contributing to SM, I think, in 2016. I'm more of a casual mapper, so I'm not like Craig, who has, I think, millions of edits on OpenStreetMap. But over the years, I think that has shifted more into community contributions. Um, and there's a reason why I'm saying all of this. Um, and before I get into that, I was just wondering, I think some of us are developers, others are mappers, but I was wondering how often people map. So if people can show me by a show of hands, are there people who map every day? Okay. Are there people who map once a week? Okay. Once a month? Okay, one person, two people. And other people just map randomly. When there's a mapathon, that's when you map. No one. And other people map randomly as well, and it feels like it's been a minute. You're like, ooh, I have an OSM account, but I haven't mapped in a while. Let me map today. No one. Okay. I guess this is a very serious crowd because I think for me, for a while, it's sort of ranged within the last two. I only mapped whenever there was a mapathon. At times, I was organizing that mapathon, leading that mapathon, or attending it. And at times, it felt like it's been a while. And because of that, what that meant is my activity timeline, I think for 2024 looked like this. Uh, and because of that, I don't know, it felt so weird because you look at it, it's so blank, but it feels like you mapped the other day. And it looks like maybe there's a bug in Pascal Ney's platform and it's not showing your edits. But it just turns out that it's possible to get comfortable and not map. So then what did that mean for us? So Eric is not here, but he's attending the conference. Last year, him and his colleague actually mapped every single day on OpenStreetMap, except for the 3 days when there was an outage, which was interesting. And at the end of the year, they tweeted this and they're like, who else wants to try it in 2025? And I guess like a lot of other people, at least for me, January went by and nothing happened. And then in February, we were having, actually on the first day of February, we were having an SM Kenya sort of meeting and we were updating our wiki page. And a couple of us are like, oh, let's try and start mapping again. So my first gen set was in sort of this challenge of mapping every day was actually just around home. I opened OpenStreetMap and then mapped new buildings that I had seen being constructed. And then that sort of started changing. So I started mapping more around where I live, then the larger area around and near Nairobi. And then by the time I was getting to like the end of the first month, I started looking into other platforms or editors. So I started doing a lot of street complete tasks, but not as much because I don't necessarily work as much. So it was only days when I would go outside. And then I also started mapping tasking manager projects. We had some mapping projects on the Kenyan coast. And then started looking again, going back into random mapping. So I just opened sort of the OpenStreetMap website, zoom into an area and map randomly, and also then moved into mapping with AI. So it sort of was like a mix of things. But by the time I got into like the 2-month mark, I sort of shifted to mapping on Map Roulette for some reason. And then up to now, it's just been Map Roulette. So over the entire period, these are the editors that I mainly used. So it was, I'm more of an ID person versus JOSAM person, but I used ID, Rapid, then JOSAM, Everyday, then Street Complete. Why I ended up using MapRoulette a lot for the remaining period is that I noticed I enjoyed fixing things other than creating things. I don't know. I don't know if I need to speak to a therapist about that, but yeah. And then I also noticed, like, I think within the African region, for us, a lot of people focus on creating new data versus fixing maybe issues that do exist, but also just an understanding that quality matters. And one thing, and I noticed with MapRoulette, in as much as you're regarded as a microtasking manager, it really isn't, because once we open an issue, you usually find other nearby issues, because it's one mapper sort of creating a problem. There's a good chance if they're mapping the entire area, they do create other errors. So say, for example, for the screenshot, this was for a project mapping intersecting buildings. So there's only one flagged error, but the nearby buildings were actually had bad geometry. So MapRoulette wouldn't necessarily, or even if you query, I think it's hard to query sort of things that have bad geometry, except for spiky buildings. So you end up anyway mapping a lot more. So it just looked like fixing a lot of issues that could go undetected. Then another thing was also that a lot of the data quality issues were more recent than historical, which also meant maybe there is a problem with onboarding and training and how we're bringing in new mappers. So it was something interesting to also look into and see how to better support the community. And probably someone will be wondering, why didn't I use OSM streak, which is something created by Ilya. And basically is that you get a prompt every day, either on Telegram or on email, to map something every day. But it was just a little bit difficult in terms of discovery. So say, for example, this is a screenshot that I took on one of the days. It was actually at the end of the day, and I was trying to see, okay, what's the prompt for today? And it says that many roads in rural areas are drawn fast without regard for crossing streams and rivers. So it was prompting me to find a place where a mapper forgot to split a road and mark a bridge and do that for them. And it was just quite difficult to actually find where such an issue exists easily and mapping it. So it's sort of gave up on OSM stick because of just the complexity. Or at times at the end of the day, the prompt would be to map like the leaf types of a tree, and it's at night, and you're like, I don't know how to do that. So that's why for this, we didn't end up using OSM streak and used more of random mapping. So yeah, the data, I guess, the total contributions over the entire period. Again, it was more of casual mapping, so it was around 200K map changes, and all of it was within Kenya, and a total of 588 change sets. What the contributions look like, I created some things. So I did add new things that are unmapped. I also modified a lot of things since, again, I was focusing on map roulette. So there's a lot of things that needed modification, a lot of wrongly mapped buildings, a lot of data quality issues. But I also deleted some things, but mostly nodes. I tried to reuse a lot of features as much as possible. But for example, I don't think it's clear enough, but this is like buildings that were, this for Maprile challenge on spiky buildings. And just to sort of create the shapes, I had to delete a lot of notes to be able to do that. In terms of feature types, I ended up mapping obviously more buildings as compared to everything else. But followed by that was highways, amenities, and then land use. Actually, for land use, it was just one thing. I like mapping like um, greenhouses. They usually look really nice on maps. I don't know if the people who map those. So I always try to find them and map them. And then also a lot of water features. Um, yeah, there was one odd edit that I did fix. It was actually fixing a note that I was tagged on because not that I created the error, but I created a tasking manager project last year that had not been fully validated. And somehow the mapper in question was basically tagged the task boundaries as natural is equal to scrub. So I actually had to delete all of them. And basically those are like the red lines that you see on this. Yeah, so more data in terms of what the mapping looked like over time. So one thing for me, or at least for casual mapping, it was around 900 edits or map changes per day. And at my highest or a good mapping day, it was like around 2000 mapping changes. Uh, and try also look at how the map changes looked by the day of the week. It was pretty average, I think, across, but I tended to map more on weekends and apparently on a Wednesday. I guess it's because the week is almost over and there's some excitement. Yeah, and I don't know, probably someone might be wondering if I'm trying to do like a daily mapping challenge, it's so easy to just open ID, map one building and go away. But I think I did try to, or it turns out that I did have like a mix of things. So the days that were low mapping days, which was like 24% of the entire period, where I did less edits between 1 and 50 map changes. And then medium sessions were like between 51 and 250 map changes, and those are like 29%. But actually the majority ended up being deep dive sessions. Again, because it's map related, you open a place, so many errors, you end up spending 1 hour, 2 hours fixing and modifying things. Yeah, but we're not doing it alone, obviously. So we created like a sub channel within our community just to motivate each other. On the group, basically, what we only kept doing is that someone would text at the end of the day, have you mapped today? And would send each other a lot of memes and encourage each other to map. People also would do OSM fights and challenge each other. At some point in the year, the group went silent, so we all obviously tried to revive things and did a poll and like also just kept restarting over and over. But also whenever people discovered any new things, for example, I accidentally noticed that on ID, if you click on if you click on G, you can actually see the changes you've made before uploading, which is a shortcut we didn't know. And no one in the group also knew, but also people kept on sharing any new sort of features they're finding and having any discussions that are coming up. So yeah, maybe wondering what do you do you want to try this? Is this something you want to consider if you do not map openly? I guess the only thing you have to do is open OpenStreetMap, map a random place. But some of, I guess, recommendations you can make if you have a blank activity timeline, like maybe some of us, you can try starting 7 days, 30 days instead of probably aiming to start in January for the and then map for the entire year. And then also looking at focusing on maybe a particular thing versus everything. So probably can focus on data quality or data creation or something that I guess is important for your location. And then one other thing that for all of us, we feel like we could have done more is trying to do different kinds of things. So not just remote mapping, but also some field mapping as well, which could have been cool to also break the monotony. But also like trying to have a plan, but also not making it too structured so that it's not like too stressful. but also just knowing probably on a simple day, I could maybe use MapRoulette, or I could fix notes, or I could do filters on ID and just upgrade tags or something like that. And maybe know, like, on a day when I have more time and I have more energy, I can open up a tasking manager task and probably put in more time. But yeah, making it flexible and yeah, not being too rigid, so it doesn't feel like work. I feel like if it feels like work, then you tend to drop off easily. And then yeah, accountability in terms of what you're sharing, for at least for the community. There are probably other people also doing like a challenge, a mapping challenge of some sort. So you can either create something or ask in your community if the people want to be accountability partners, and you can get to share your experiences and motivate each other. Yeah, and some approaches you can take, yeah, focusing either on an area, focusing on a certain tool, or focusing on certain task. Yeah, and I asked some of the community members in Kenya that were doing the challenge with, in terms of what they were doing. So one of our mappers here, Francis, for him, what he just did, he would check the hot tasking manager and check if there are any active and urgent campaigns. And then he would contribute to those each and every single day. And some of the key sort of campaigns that he contributed to is the Fix Map Africa challenge, which is done by TomTom to improve data quality in the region, and also the mental health in Kenya. We're mapping health facilities and highlighting mental health care access. Then also another community member called Judith, for her it was more of a global exploration. So she actually tried to map different countries every other single day. Same to Ezekiel, who also mapped for the entire year last year. And you're saying he's also doing the same, and he's mapped 126 countries so far, but also started joining active campaigns within the region and in his country. Same to Walter. It was more of random mapping, I guess, just to break the monotony and make things more exciting. So in case you're still on the fence and wondering why you should do it, I think it's still important for a lot of people to try and map every day or map more oftenly. There's still a lot of unmapped places, I guess, on OpenStreetMap. This is the unmapped places of OpenStreetMap by Pascal Nays. But also, if you do comparisons, I know people don't like it with AI building detections. There's some gaps where we need more mapping, and we could use more people joining in or finding interesting ways to achieve completeness. But also, in terms of places that have been mapped, things that have been mapped, we need more attributes added. So there's still a lot of room for enrichment. So when it comes to adding more information, so if maybe in your country, your region, all buildings, all sort of points of interest are mapped, maybe it could just be that the challenge could be to improve the enrichment and make the data more useful. This is just an example. Actually, I added, because we're discussing with Craig yesterday, and we're noticing some of the schools in this platform didn't have all the attributes. Yeah, and there definitely still a lot of issues that maybe do make OpenStreetMap a little bit unusable for some cases. So yeah, there's still a lot of data quality issues to look at and fix and work on. And that was basically it.
Love that. Thank you so much. You were wonderful. So we have a couple questions on venue list, but we'll move to those in a minute. If we have questions in the room. Yeah, I could see people thinking over here.
Sorry if I missed this, but was there a minimum per day that everyone had to do? No.
I can add some more. So yeah, the idea was to make it very open and not try to close things as much. So we made it open for anyone to do anything, to use any editor to make any number of contributions. Because for us, the challenge was to map every day. We felt like if we could say the target is to map 700 buildings, instead of doing 100 per day, could just do 700 on a Saturday. So I guess the idea was to build the consistency versus probably quantity. But also the other thing with numbers, again, it tend to cause a lot of data quality issues, at least for us, because then people look at the numbers and forget about the quality. So we didn't put a number into the targets, but just say you map whatever you want that you feel is useful and then share with us what you're doing it.
Excellent, thank you. Got another question over here.
First of all, it was awesome because one thing is mapping for 100 days. One thing is mapping 1,000 days a day. So it's incredible. By the way, my question is, how you generated these nice graphs about diving and these kind of things? Thank you so much.
Yeah, so I was actually doing this yesterday at night, but I wrote like a short Python script. And basically I was querying the OSM API with my username and a date range and all the statistics that I wanted, and then create the graphs on Canva.
Okay, we're going to do a question from Vanulus now. What is your most favorite edit during your contribution and why?
I think it's actually this odd edit because it was quite unexpected. Because actually I woke up one day in the morning and it got like the conversation had happened like on the change set itself, and I was tagged on it. So it was interesting to look at it and also just trying to figure out what actually happened and what caused it, and also trying to reach out to the mapper to understand everything. So I'd say this was probably the most interesting to work on for the entire period. Yeah. And I also wanted to add, yeah, in case I can also add the Python script on my slide, and then if people want to query also for themselves, they can do it.
That's a good thing to add. Thank you for that. That's very cool. Okay, another question from Vanulus before we come back to the room. What is the longest time that you have spent mapping in a single day during the 100-day challenge?
Yeah, I think my laptop is there. I think the longest has to be 4 hours, and it was just because it was a mapathon. Yeah, but most of the times it tended to be between, okay, for like when it was, if it was a deep dive session, it was like 2 to 3 hours, and then for days when I had no time, it was actually minutes. But the longest I'd say for probably 4 to 5 hours, but it was a mapathon, yeah.
That's a pretty good amount of time. Nice. Question, yeah.
Did you ever accidentally grab on some line and then not realize it, and then you save it and it's too late or something?
This time no, but in my OSM contribution journey, yes, I have done that before. What I just did, I went back to the change set and wrote a comment and then fixed it again. Yeah, but within this period, no. But when I was a beginner, definitely yes, I think it happened once.
I mean, is there anybody who edits OSM somewhat regularly and has not done that? Yeah, right? Uh-huh. So we got another question over here. No? Okay, all right. Did somebody else have a question? I've got more questions online that I can go to, so we'll go back to that. Unless, are you like, no more questions? All right, what is the best advice you can give to a person to keep their mapping streak daily, given that there are times when we get too busy with other things?
Yeah, I think it's, I sort of mentioned it, but I think for us what helped us is the sort of the group, having the group and being able to talk to each other and like motivate each other. And also just being able to tell each other that actually if you missed yesterday, okay, this one is do I have to start again? Yeah. So I think what really helped is having like an accountability partner, sort of someone who reminds you or you remind each other to do your contributions. Because I think also for what you notice also for some of us is that someone would miss a day and they feel that they need to stop. I guess for a lot of young people, they do like these challenges 75 hard, 75 soft, where basically if you're challenging yourself to do like a couple of things, if you miss a day, you have to go back to day one. But for, I guess for us, we're trying to just tell people if you skip yesterday, you can do it tomorrow. Again, it's not about quantity, it's not about the numbers, but more of consistency. And then over a period of time, it tends to build up. Yeah, but yeah, I guess working in it together and trying to motivate each other, but also for across all of us, one thing we also notice is that just knowing maybe the time that works best for you, because there are some of us who do it very early in the morning, first thing they wake up, they do it, they forget about it. But for most of us, it would be at the end of the day. The people also, which was funny, they tried to hack it that because I don't know, the databases sort of sync on UTC time. So a lot of people also would try to map at in Kenyan time, like at 1:30 a.m. You'd be able to do the first change set, and then by 2:01 you do the second change set, and it's like 2 days. I don't know. People try to do those kinds of things, but yeah. But mostly it was just motivating each other, and then also setting a time in terms of what you want to do it, and also trying to do different things as opposed to mapping one thing. Sort of becomes consistent without
Great advice. All right. Thank you. Nice work. Give it up once for Laura. Woo.